Well, greetings from North Georgia's only live internet talk show. This is George McClellan, if I can speak. It's so cold outside. It's one of those rare weather events that tighten your jaw. Sky is sunny and beautiful, but it's very cold. It was 20 degrees, less than 20 degrees actually, at my house this morning. I had to break open the water dish for my beasts and a few other little things. But it's supposed to be windy today. I have a very important wind advisory on my cell phone, but hell, there's not a breeze out there. So if it comes, it'll be coming this morning sometime. So be ready, because it'll plummet the temperatures down up here, and it will extend till tomorrow. Tomorrow will be colder, allegedly, than it is today. And the wind advisory will last till 5 p.m. So there's your weather. It's not wet, it's not raining, there's no snow out there. Don't we love living in the North Georgia mountains? I mean, we have the 4 seasons up here, but none of them are severe. Not even today's cold. 2 days gone. One thing you cannot sell up here in the North Georgia mountains is a snow shovel. Don't mean we don't get snow. We do. We get plenty of snow, but it falls and it's gone in a day. So nobody wastes their time trying to spend money on snow shovels to dig themselves out. So what are our topics today? Well, the Trump transition continues to make news, but only because short of the continued murders going on in our great urban city centers, not much else is newsworthy. If we look at some of the headlines, I'd like to talk, but I do have a subject. I'm not floating. I do have a subject that's going to be examined. The major news issue right now, and is foo news. It's fake news, and that's the Russians hacking our government and our election process. And I'll tell you right now, the Russians did not hack our election process. They did not turn the election to Trump. They had nothing to do with that. They did hack the Democratic National Committee. They did try to hack the Republican National Committee. They got into John Podesta, his emails, but it was WikiLeaks, Julian Assange, who claims credit for it, and he tells us, and he will tell us again and again, the Russians didn't do it. He did it. So what is not to understand? Well, the fact that Hillary Clinton lost that election has discombobulated the entire economic system of the one world government, of which Clinton was a key element. She was a key element, and we'll go into that. But back to the Trump transition, we see that Rick Perry, longest-term governor of the state of Texas, is picked for the Department of Energy. Now, Senator Reid is retiring from the Senate, thank God. If there's nothing else good news in the news except Trump's victory over the forces of evil and wickedness, it's the fact that one of the biggest sources of evil and wickedness, Harry Reid, is retiring. And that gets us back to a very expensive project that has been built but not used because Harry Reid refused to allow it to happen. And that's the Yucca Mountain repository for nuclear waste. And I think that Rick Perry, one of his missions will be to open that and get it into operation and make it work. I'll read the headline part. The Obama White House made an unfortunate and ungracious choice in launching a preemptive attack on Rick Perry's nomination. Josh Earnest, we know Josh Earnest. Does this man sleep at night? He has lying and prevarication become so ingrained in his soul that he can get a good night's sleep. I just asking. I'm wondering. But anyway, Josh Earnest did his best to disparage the choice of Rick Perry. And he said it was one based on politics, not on merit. Well, okay, let's see what the career choices for Josh Earnest are in the future. But what about President Obama's choice of Ken Salazar, an incompetent, excuse me, an incompetent, Kathleen Sebelius, Tom Vilsack, Janet Napolitano? They were all lawyers without specific expertise in the areas of the departments they controlled as secretaries. But each experienced, as elected Democrats, statewide officials, they knew about their respective area, and the status as non-experts never really mattered. So they were politicians, they had followed a plan, and they knew how to get the plan followed. Not that it made any difference to the American economy. Regardless, it was what the Democrat plan was. Perry spent 14 years governing Texas, and that's the largest energy producing state in the Union. That may not qualify him for an advanced degree in nuclear physics or combustion chemistry, but he does understand how energy markets work. So does Sarah Palin for all of that. And then perhaps as much as one can hope for from the Department of Energy. It's hardly the most vital federal department, but it is one that Jimmy Carter started. It is one that we don't really need because they produce nothing beneficial to America's economic status, but they put hindrances on it just like the other federal departments. So Perry once said he was going to abolish it when he ran for president. That was one of his target roles. I mean, Trump has put the fox in the hen house, and I don't think Reed will like it. But Reed's an old decrepit old man and on his way out. Now we doubt Perry will be the last Secretary of State, but he will get the ball rolling. And I actually foresee 16 years of Republicans running this government. Let me change that. 16 years of conservative thought process running this government. And as I have said once before, I think that the Republicans should now call themselves the Independent Republican Party. That's the one that Trump is building. And the old elite Republicans, well, they're on their way out. They're gone. They're old. They're geriatric. John McCain, Senator John McCain, he's a fool. He's an old fool, and he thinks that because he had a military career, got shot down, spent time in prison, North Vietnamese prison, and I thank him for his service. But from that point on, after he got out of the Navy and became a politician, he's become the biggest Republican idiot there is, because he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, but he does know politics. He knows how politics work, but he's on the wrong side of this coin again. Him and Lindsey Graham, they're on the wrong side of the coin. There's only one truly important task that Perry can accomplish, and that's Yucca Mountain. Get that thing going. One of the Energy Department's least essential functions is to safeguard and dispose of nuclear waste, and that's where Perry's going. Okay, now then, in another interesting appointment, Trump has selected Mitt Romney's niece. She is the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party, the chairman of the Michigan Republican Party. And she has been selected, and she is a good one apparently, a very, very good one. But she has been selected, and it has to be with Reince Priebus's recommendation to be the new Republican chairman of the Republican National Committee, the RNC. Now, that being said, the RNC, to me, is still the epitome of the establishment. Reince Priebus is the establishment. He rolled over in support of Trump simply to save the Republican establishment. He's going to make a good attempt at it. Putting her in there will make a good attempt at it. But I can tell you, they send all the time, I get these notices in the mail. Some of them are warnings telling me that my membership in the RNC has elapsed because I haven't paid them any money, and I need to send some money. We've got to fight Pelosi, and we've got to do all of this. Well, I think Pelosi's history, Schumer's history, the Democrat Party for the foreseeable future is history. But when they spend my money, when the RNC spends my donation money to thwart the campaign of a conservative Republican, a Tea Party Republican, then they're not entitled to my funds anymore. They're not going to get it. So I think we should rename it the Independent Republican Party and drive out the John McCains, the Lindsey Grahams, those type of people. I'm willing to give, only because Trump wants it, but I am willing to give Reince Priebus his shot as a chief of staff for the Trump machine in the White House. I think that's okay. The man's capable. He's certainly not an enemy, but he is an establishment Republican. There's one thing that bothers me, and that's Trump's appointment of another Goldman Sachs executive to the National Economic Council, to head it, as a matter of fact, a fellow named Khan. That can't be good. That cannot be good. That is strings attached to the one world government, large banks. Now, we see that the Fed has raised the interest rates. It's starting up again. And that's good. So long as it doesn't get out of control. They've got to throttle it along so that inflation doesn't overcome the fact that we can now expect to make a few bucks off of our bank accounts and our CDs, which has been lacking for years. So all these little things are, most of Americans are not acquainted with, or not, people are just interested in paying their mortgage and paying their car and gas and getting their kids off to school every day, and they don't think about these things, which is why you should watch this program every day at 10 o'clock. At 10 o'clock, so there we are. There's a headline here that says Trump and the Senate are hurtling towards a clash over Russia sanctions. It all comes back to the hacking thing. The Democrats have told us that the Russians hacked our electoral system. And I've already told you they did not. They attacked and hacked or somebody did, Julian Assange attacked and hacked the Democrat National Committee and exposed all of the nefarious deals, including thousands of the emails that Clinton said that she destroyed and were not destroyed. And by the way, National Security Agency has them all. But there we have that problem hanging over the head, like over the Democrats' head, like the sword of Damascus. And if the string breaks and it drops, they are completely wiped out. So, but now we have the Senate. It's the Democrats in the Senate hurtling towards clash over Russia sanctions. And I'll show you later in this program the fact that the driving motives behind Clinton's election, and it does include war with Russia. It does include war with Russia. Now, they're in paranoia mode because Trump talks with Vladimir Putin, and his choice for Secretary of State has business with Russia, oil business, energy business, and knows and has done dealings with Vladimir Putin. You cannot have a war with somebody who you've declared as an enemy, who has hacked your emails or hacked your election process. And it simply will not do for the Democrats or the left, I'm going to say the Democrats, they're the left, to not promote this conflict with the Russians. War and conflict is always necessary for these people to stay in power. They've got to give us something to worry about. And we worry about that when we're not worried about our own oil producing stuff. Trump says he'll get oil drills going again on federal land. He'll get the shale fracking business rolling again. I mean, it's just an amazing economic picture, and who's going to benefit from it? Always follow the money. Always follow the money, and I'll show you that later. So anyway, the Trump administration and the Senate are headed for a collision early next year over new and existing sanctions on Russia and whether the incoming president will want to unravel them while lawmakers on both sides of the aisle push for more. Do not forget, Russia is involved in Syria. They have taken the mantle of leadership away from Obama, and Putin is now calling the shots in Syria, and he's going to support the Syrian president and the Syrian government. But the city of Aleppo, under attack by Russia, supporting Syria troops, that's about resolved. Aleppo will soon be back in Syrian hands. And the senators don't like that. Remember that John McCain actually went over there one time and proudly had himself videotaped with giving weapons to American allies fighting the wicked, whoever was wicked. Who can tell the difference? Certainly McCain didn't know it, but those weapons ended up fighting for Assad. So there we are. State Department has issued travel warning for the Ukraine. Now, Ukraine, we were sponsors early on of Ukraine after the fall of the Soviet Union, but it's now, of course, they're in a war footing with Russia. I don't know who's supporting the Ukraine, NATO probably, but if violence erupts, we're told to be prepared to remain indoors if violence erupts between Russian-backed separatists and the Ukrainian government. Russian-backed separatists, that's Russians who actually live in the Ukraine and have for a long time. I mean, the Ukraine was part of the Soviet Empire for all those almost 100 years. It's always been a part of the Tsarist Empire. So the connections are long and deep. And somebody who lives in the Ukraine, who is a Russian and is still a Russian, but now he's a Ukrainian, and they will fight to keep Mother Russia part of extend the border of Mother Russia further west to protect Russia from NATO and those wicked Germans. The situation in Ukraine is unpredictable and could change quickly. It will only change quickly if things go bad for the one world government people. And they'll need to distract us, and they will distract us with another attack in Russia. It's easily done, and it will be accomplished. And it brings us around to a question: what's Trump up to on the foreign policy? What is his idea? Remember, Trump is still a private citizen. He is not president yet, but he has already had more effect on changing the world than Obama has at all. And so we keep that in mind. Some dismiss Trump's appointments and his tweets. I'm not a tweeter. You'll never see me tweet. But they dismiss his choices for running his agencies, and his tweets is no more than impulses of an ignorant and undisciplined, intemperate man who doesn't know foreign policy. That is false thinking. That is not good at all. That kind of thinking leads people down the wrong path. Trump did not become a multi-billionaire because he's stupid or he's ignorant. He has a way of talking with everybody, from the guy who hangs the sheetrock to the fellow who he buys the property from. I mean, and he knows how to deal. If you listen to his interviews, Fox News is a particularly good one. Chuck Todd is another good one. He tells it like it is. He doesn't let the news people change his mind. He tells it like it is. No, we're going to do this and this. And that's not stupid. That's a man who knows how to get what he wants, and will do it, and will do it. Others recall that similar things were said about Romney. when he was hired to take over the Winter Olympics in Utah a decade ago, and he turned it right around and made it work. So maybe Trump knows what he's doing. I think he does. A U.S. general blames Russia and Syria for letting the Islamic State retake Palmyra. I can't comment on that because I'm not a general. I'm not a war planner. I don't watch the movement of pieces on chessboards. That is strictly a foreign policy thing in the military field, but it's up. It's up, and it could be a ringing indictment. Russia and Syrian forces ran away, abandoning heavy weapons, armored vehicles, shoulder-fired anti-aircraft missiles. The Russians wouldn't do that. They're not going to do that. No. So that's the ancient city of Palmyra. The Senate rarely rejects president's cabinet picks. This is where Mitch McConnell comes in. He better be on Trump's side, or he will be a short-lived, short-term leader, because the Senate has enough, as does the House, has enough true independent Republican conservatives that will make that seat very, very hot for somebody who does not pursue the change that Americans voted the Republican Party to do. If they don't do it, we're going to be in big trouble. He's going to be in big trouble. I think the only person that was ever rejected Republican recently was Senator John Tower in 1989. Well, that was a long time ago, 89, God. Here's a comment. Mitt Romney was passed over for Secretary of State, apparently, because he refused to apologize to Trump for his harsh criticism during the campaign. Senate Republicans, the article says, are being tested by Trump again over Rex Tillerson's nomination, Rex Tillerson being the CEO of ExxonMobil, the largest government in the world, and the economic source, big economic source from America. They will show Trump that there are lines they won't cross, or will they be his doormat for the next 4 years? How far does party unity go? Party unity is fractured. I say this all the time. Party unity is fractured because we have the independent Republican Party and we have the establishment Republican Party. They don't recognize those names, but that's the truth. Those two things are there. And unity will come when the establishment, the old line establishment people, the John McCains, the Lindsey Grahams, Susan Collins, when that lot is gone, when they're blown out and blown away, then we will start seeing unity and cooperation. Trump's the man. Trump was elected to be our president. Trump has his ideas. The public out here is not clamoring against anything that Trump says or does, or any of his picks. My only reservation is the Goldman Sachs appointees. I don't think they belong there. I surely don't. But we can't have somebody in there who doesn't know and understand economics. So I will reserve judgment until I see that wheel turn slightly and we find out what is really the motive behind putting those people in America's Economic Council. Here's a useless article. Reid won't apologize for smearing Romney, but admits Romney was right on Russia. Reid's gone. Romney still has held his head high, and he'll not be Secretary of State. He won't apologize. I think that's great. I mean, if you think you're right, well, stick by your guns. You don't want to grovel. Nobody wants to grovel. And like Mad Dog Mattis says, always carry a knife. Always carry a knife. You might have some cheesecake, or you might need to stab somebody in the throat. Always have. Prepare yourself, but don't grovel. It's unseemly. The Fed raises interest rates, expected to do so again next year. Yes, it is time. It is time to right this economic ship of state and bring it along and let the free market control things. Government interference has ruined everything. Government interference by picking winners and losers, choosing what we're going to do and how we're going to do it, never works. It never works. It never worked in Soviet Russia. It hasn't worked in Obama's term. He's just ruined businesses, except for, as I mentioned yesterday, pawn shops and auto loan companies. There's some jobs there. The Federal Reserve officials raised their short-term interest rate a quarter point on Wednesday, the first increase in a year, and suggested they might raise rates slightly faster next year. Of course, they're going to do it if they want to rein in Trump's plans for infrastructure. That's going to cost $1 trillion. We don't have $1 trillion. And we don't have $1 trillion. In fact, even FetchNews.com could just use a few $100s. And for that reason, we'll just take another short break right now so I can blow my nose again. See you on the other side.
Pizza Hut makes the best pizza in the entire universe, but they won't tell you that. I've been marooned on this planet for a while now. You are an impressive race. Your children know excellent hiding places. Your oceans aren't filled with lava. And you figured out how to combine a grilled cheese sandwich with a Pizza Hut pizza. Surely interstellar travel will soon follow. And then I can finally get back home. Round. Round like home. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East Ellijay. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Better days ahead.
This is the big one. The 20% off MSRP model year end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper. With huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys. Right here, right now. At Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
El Rey in Ellijay.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey in Ellijay.
Pizza Hut makes great pizza, but they can't tell you what a gift it is. I can. They took a grilled cheese and combined it with stuffed crust pizza. To think, I almost wasn't here to try it.
How did you?
It's not important, Jan. What's important is that I watched the sunrise this morning. Then I got to stand in a room filled with this pizza. And later I'll stare at the ocean. Or maybe I'll learn Russian. Or listen to jazz. Or try my hand at needlework. Or open a door for a beautiful woman. Or read a human interest story or make dessert wine. Or ride a wild horse. Or experiment with watercolors. Eat every slice like it's your last. Especially you, Doug. Especially Doug, right? You care about Doug. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one outpieces the Hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Well, welcome back. This is George McClellan at FetcherNews.com, North Georgia's only live internet talk show. We stream live on YouTube and on Fetcher News. You can catch us there. It'll be uploaded in the archives. If you want to hear what I have to say, you want to sleep late or you want to go to sleep, tune in there, and you might be lucky enough to find us there. Continuing on this, the programs that are facing us. Here's one that we don't talk about. We talk about repealing Obamacare. Trump said first thing he's going to do is repeal Obamacare, and that has alarmed a lot of people, particularly people who can't afford insurance. So what Obamacare did is they gave insurance to people who can't afford Obamacare or can't afford their own health insurance, but they made it so difficult for people who once could afford their own health insurance that they're now pushing themselves into penury. They can hardly afford it. I have a friend I talked to yesterday, as a matter of fact, whose monthly bill is $1,400 to just own it, but get this, his deductible is $14,000. And he still has a wife and 2 kids that are provided for. So, he's got to spend $14,000 before insurance will even pick up his medical problems. And he still pays $1,400 a month times 12. This man has a good retirement, I have to say, but no one should be screwed like that. No one should be screwed like that. Republicans are searching for a way to capture savings from repealing Obamacare. When they say capture savings, they mean they want to continue to screw people like my friend who pays $1,400 a month. No. Free market. The free market is where they should go. Tom Price, Georgia representative from 9th District, not 9th, what's his district? From Georgia, who is the Trump's choice. He's got a plan. He's a medical doctor. He's had a plan. Most of the Republican Party, the old elite Republican Party, have signed on to it. Paul Ryan has signed on to it with a measure to change. That is where they should go, and they should implement it and get the hell out of Obamacare. It's wholly designed to change money from people who have it and give it to people who don't, and that's un-American. That's absolutely un-American, and I'm against it. So, any Republican, you keep an eye on your representatives and your senators, and any Republican who cannot just say, I will vote for total repeal of Obamacare and implementation of the Republicans' plan, which has been out there for years, despite what the Obamas have said and the Democrats have said. Let's get this thing right and quit trying to screw people out of their money. Having said that, 1.1 million new customers signed up for Obamacare, and that includes the friend I was talking to yesterday. He signed up last week. It took him 5 hours. 5 hours to use the telephone, the computer, to sign up for his health insurance. And he had a good plan. He had a Humana plan that Humana sent him a letter, says they can't afford to keep him anymore, so he has to go to sign up. And he's retired. He's retired too. So he has to sign up for another plan, and he took him 5 hours to find one that was barely affordable, $1,400 a month. That's outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. So much for insurance. State Department Wednesday refused to say that U.S. policy and strategy have failed to bring peace to Syria. Oh my God. What are those people thinking? Blame Obama. If you're the spokesman in the White House, you can say, well, the chief executive didn't know what the hell he was doing, and that's why we're in the problems. Save your job, because Bolton and Tillerson are going to sweep that place clean. If you are speak idiotic communist socialist talk, you'll be gone. I mean, you will be gone. They cannot, they They argued that the failure is a result of policies pursued by Syria, Russia, and Iran. If Obama hadn't given away the red line, that would never have that problem. It's Obama's fault. It's all Obama's fault. All of Obama's fault. And John Kerry and that moron who just got beat for President Hillary Clinton. It's all their fault. The failure is in the belief that this war can be solved militarily. What has Trump said? Trump has come back and said, well, let's talk about this with Russia. Some people, particularly people who love lust after power, they need war to keep our minds off of other things. They need war to settle economic problems that they can't do it through diplomacy. War is just the handmaiden of foreign policy. Okay, the Democrats will try to fight Pruitt's nomination over his stance on global warming. Global warming, it's 20 degrees outside right now, the sun is shining, and they're trying to tell me the earth is heating up. Well, you know, maybe the earth should heat up, because the last time the earth heated up even slightly, they were growing grape vineyards in the middle of England. The Vikings had moved to Greenland and had wheat fields, and then another ice age, a little ice age come and changed all of that. And they didn't have automobiles. And the only source of heat they had in those days was maybe coal, burning rocks, but certainly wood and peat. So those things are still being burned out there. Wood's being burned out there. We had massive forest fires producing tons and tons and tons and tons of carbon in the air from California to Tennessee, and yet nothing has changed in the global warming or the global cooling scenario. But no one ever talks about the 169 active volcanoes still puffing out smoke and mercury and other toxic minerals into the air. Sulfuric carbon dioxide, sulfuric acid. I mean, no one talks about that, these people, or blame that for global warming. There's no global warming. If there is, it's natural occurrence. The sun is really responsible. The science of that is clear. But all these people whose earnings, whose livelihood is based on grants that the government provides to keep them in business, they will say anything the government wants to support any position the government wants. You go to the Arctic, the ice cap over the ocean there is several feet thick. Several feet thick. Polar bears are not suffering. They're in their element. Polar bears swim in that water. And besides, the polar bears are outgrowing the population of anybody else up there. The whole northern hemisphere above the Arctic Circle, from Alaska, Canada, Russia, has polar bears and ice. It always had polar bears. All those little islands all the way up to the North Pole, they have polar bears. So what's the global warming business, and what is the fear we should have over that? Nothing. It's a hoax. It's a money-saving, money-shrinking hoax. Okay. Fake news is one of the things that we hear about all the time. We're going to talk about one of the biggest fake news stories in some depth. It has to do with Hillary Clinton. Is Hillary Clinton finished? I mean, can we expect her to retreat to her Chappaquiddick home and start consuming donuts and beer and wine and be happily retired out of the scene? I don't think so. Hillary, in fact, is in hock to some pretty important money sources who gave her money expecting her to be the chief executive of the United States, and I'm specifically referring to the Emirates and Saudi Arabia, and they paid for results they're not going to get. And they're going to want a reckoning. So don't expect Hillary to give up yet. Follow the money. She spent her time at the State Department destabilizing the Middle East, aggravating tensions with Russia, and shaking down the House of Saud. with her family charity foundation, the Clinton Foundation. And it is tempting to believe Clinton's days of manipulating foreign policy are over. It's hard to deny that recent developments look like her handiwork. And now we're talking about the alleged Russian hacking of the voting booths, which did not occur. It has not occurred. Clinton campaign demanded declassification of any information that the CIA had on the issue and share it with electors. She wanted us to believe that the Russian meddling in our election caused Trump to win and her to lose, and wants us to believe that the Russians undermined our bedrock of democracy, our election process. Hillary Clinton did that. Just look what she did to Bernie Sanders, her machine, her Democrat machine. Look what it did to Bernie Sanders. If that's not corruption, then I don't know what it possibly could be. She says this is not a partisan issue, and we are glad to see bipartisan support in the Congress for an investigation into Russia's role. I urge you right now to call your congressman and tell him, get off this. Spend your time on something else. Well, they're not up there anyway. They're in their home districts for the Christmas holiday, but that's a waste of time. We believe that the administration owes it to the American people to explain what it knows regarding the extent and manner of Russia's interference, and this is to be done as soon as possible. To that end, we also support the request from members of the Senate Intelligence Committee to declassify information around Russia's role in the election and make this data available to the public. Of course, Obama maintains Russia did not hack the electoral process or the counting of votes. There was this caveat from the White House, from Josh Earnest again. Now, you can't believe this man, but let's hear what he had to say. He said, but what is also clear is that the results of the hack and leak effort carried out on the orders of Russia were extensively discussed prior to this election. There's no evidence of that. Absolutely. That is a wind in a teacup. Nothing to that at all. If you're having a tough time following what looks like a mixed message, Obama saying it didn't happen and Hillary saying it did, coming from the White House, it's because it doesn't make any sense. It's pointless, but it keeps the news stirring. The Obama administration is telling Americans that the voting systems are secure, and apparently they were. This means that the Russians did not hack our election process, and it did not undermine the bedrock of our democracy. And that's what John Podesta said, and I was quoting John Podesta earlier. If the Russians hacked anything, and they did, it was the DNC's email services. And this is where the real fake news comes into play. Let's listen to this. Replace headline screaming, CIA says Russians hacked the elections, with the more accurate, CIA says Russians hacked DNC emails. And then you'll have a clearer understanding of what's going on here. The story seems far less significant. It's not even a story. Who cares? Who cares? It wasn't the Russians anyway. It was Julian Assange and these WikiLeaks. Go a step further, inject a modicum of objectivity into the reports on the supposed hacking by noting WikiLeaks has repeatedly said none of its sources were Russian. And the shock labor factor is almost completely eliminated. It's a non-story. It's fake news. The press, the Times, the Washington Post, they keep trying to press this issue. There are a few potential reasons for the political and media establishment to blame Russia rather than disgruntled DNC insiders as the source of the leaks. And you might remember, one of the DNC supporters who worked in that DNC office was murdered. He was murdered shortly after the revelation came out. How many people are murdered in the wake of Hillary Clinton's political career? Now, I'll let you think on that thought for a minute while we try to earn a few more bucks around here. See you on the other side of this interesting commercial break. Pay attention, especially Doug.
No matter what you're looking for in a vehicle, start your search at Schottenkirk Ford Jasper. We've simplified the process so you can move on to what matters, your family.
Hello, my name is Chad Watkins. I'm the manager at Larry's Body Shop. We are a family-owned and operated business and have been serving the North Georgia area since 1978. We are located at 1216 Progress Road in LOJ, Georgia. Our shop specializes in collision repair and we work with all major insurance companies. Larry's Body Shop is ICAR Gold, the highest role of training recognized by the collision repair industry. It is estimated that only 10% of collision shops meet these standards. Our shop consists of state-of-the-art equipment such as laser measurement system, down-drive spray booth, spot and MIG welding equipment. All of our paints are mixed on site so that we can guarantee your paint to match every time. I know that having an accident can be a stressful event. We take pride in making sure our customers are satisfied with the repair of their vehicles. Our waiting area is clean and comfortable with free Wi-Fi and refreshing beverages. So if you're in an accident, stop by and see us at Larry's Body Shop.
Pizza Hut makes the best pizza in the entire universe, but they won't tell you that. I've been marooned on this planet for a while now. You are an impressive race. Your children know excellent hiding places. Your oceans aren't filled with lava. And you figured out how to combine a grilled cheese sandwich with a Pizza Hut pizza. Surely interstellar travel will soon follow. And then I can finally get back home. Round. Round like home. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one out-pizzas the Hut.
North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds. Come on in to view the area's largest selection of fine jewelry at North Georgia Diamond. All repairs and designs are done on site by our jewelers. And North Georgia Diamond has the lowest prices on loose diamonds. You can also sell your gold, silver, and coins at North Georgia Diamond between Walmart and Lowe's in East LJ. Locally owned by Bill and Allison Craig, North Georgia Diamond is your source for diamonds in North Georgia.
Better days ahead.
This is the big one, the 20% off MSRP model year-end clearance at Days Chevrolet in Jasper, with huge savings over $3,600 off the redesigned Malibu. Now just $20,400. Save over $8,600 off Silverado Crew Cab LT. Now just $33,500. 20% off new Chevys. Right here, right now, at Days Chevrolet in Jasper.
Better days ahead. Days Chevrolet.
Find new roads.
El Rey and LJ.
El Rey Mexican Restaurant.
Family owned and operated and a local favorite for families, parties, and meetings.
Great prices.
Friendly service and delicious Mexican cuisine.
Patio dining available.
Come sing in Carlos's Cantina every Friday 9 to 1.
Eat in or take away.
Same location for 14 years. Open 7 days at the corner of Maddox Drive and 515. North Georgia's favorite Mexican cuisine. El Rey and LJ.
Pizza Hut makes great pizza, but they can't tell you what a gift it is. I can. They took a grilled cheese and combined it with stuffed crust pizza. To think, I almost wasn't here to try it.
How did
It's
you...
not important, Jen. What's important is that I watched the sunrise this morning. Then I got to stand in a room filled with this pizza. And later I'll stare at the ocean. Or maybe I'll learn Russian. Or listen to jazz. Or try my hand at needlework. Or open a door for a beautiful woman. Or read a human interest story or make dessert wine. Or ride a wild horse. Or experiment with watercolors. Eat every slice like it's your last. Especially you, Doug. Especially Doug, right? You care about that. The grilled cheese stuffed crust pizza. Proof that no one outpieces the hut.
What you gonna do with all that junk?
Welcome back, Low Temperature Sufferers. This is George McClellan coming to you from FYN TV, North Georgia's only live online internet talk show, located in LJ, Gilmer County, Georgia, up in the North Georgia mountains, the southern ends of the Appalachians. Lovely weather we're having. It's not raining and it's not snowing. We were talking about Hillary Clinton's campaign to, after she lost, to stay relevant. Remember, follow the money. And she has behind her the mainstream media. Let's go there and examine it. I said that there are few potential reasons for the political and media establishment to blame Russia rather than disgruntled Democrat National Committee employees as a source of the leaks. If you're the Democrat Party leadership admitting it is possible the DNC worker leaked the emails because he felt Bernie Sanders was mistreated, well, that's the same as admitting there's a massive break, a crack in the foundation of the Democrat Party, and reflects that affects most of the dedicated members. And that was the fellow that got murdered. He was a Sanders supporter. As the Republicans learned the same lesson in the productive years of the Tea Party movement. The slightest public perception of a chance to fundamentally alter the party can cause big headaches for the establishment. And we have the Freedom Caucus, of course, that proves this, in the Republican House. There's 40 plus members who Tea Parties put there. And they're going to put pressure on the old establishment as well. But if you're the media, and you are, which means you're left wing, running without question. Why would you run without question the Russia hack story? Because you run with it because it provides cover for anyone who spent the entire election guaranteeing that Trump would never ever become president. Those people have to have a lot to account for. Also, it absolves the mainstream media, it absolves them of their failures to report on some of the more controversial revelations provided in those DNC leaks. And they can say, see, we weren't wrong after all. We never could have accounted for Russian efforts to undermine the bedrock of our democracy. Well, in our election coverage, well, they tried hard to make Trump the loser, and they didn't come out with it. So, and they can say it's a good thing we didn't spend much time connecting the dots from the information provided in those emails. Only fake news outlets use Russian propaganda as a source. Well, who are they? Fake news. Clinton spent her life in the public spotlight and surrounded herself with people like John Podesta, because she too is one of the most masterful media manipulators of a political generation. Clinton's nothing if she isn't politically astute. And the idea that she retired to her Chappaqua mansion to live out her final years bathing quietly in wine and tears after losing the election is ludicrous. Clinton's post-election lifestyle, however, appears to be safe. You can bet it's been peppered with strategy sessions, hurriedly arranged meetings with policy influencers. She knew the DNC would run with the Russian hack story. Media would eat it up, and the disaffected never-Trumpers would agree and join. And we see them in our Republican Senate, John McCain for one, Lindsey Graham for another. In other words, until Americans have information more substantial than mainstream media's loose quoting of unnamed intelligence sources, it bears reason that Clinton is thoroughly involved in circulating the idea that Russia hacked our election. It is no secret that Vladimir Putin is no fan of Hillary Clinton or her foreign policy, and that the Russian leader has made it clear that he's more open to working with Trump. Despite the president-elect's lack of the harshly anti-Russian rhetoric that Clinton embraces, and the whole Democrat Party for that, Putin's preference to working with the Trump administration is hardly solid proof or motive to manipulate our elections. Real attacks on the U.S. political system would mean real retaliation in the form of harsh sanctions, cyber attacks, and possibly even military action. Would such risks to deny Clinton the presidency be worth the reward for Russian leaders by hacking? Trump, after all, would only become president, and in the United States, the president doesn't have all the power he really needs to make long-term nice solutions with Russia. He's got to have confirmation with from the Senate. At least not yet. Clinton's motives to frame Russia are probably a little stronger, and they definitely reach beyond bitterness and over an embarrassing political defeat. Here's where we follow the money. It's becoming increasingly possible that blaming Russian hackers for the election could lead to a surprise from the Electoral College. It is possible, but not probable. It remains unlikely. More likely is that Americans are witnessing Clinton's effort to get creative to repay a few small favors without benefit of the presidency's bully pulpit. She promised folks she would have the pulpit that she would have had in 2017. She's not president, in other words. If you paid attention to the leaks the establishment is now blaming on the Russians, you learned that Clinton's family foundation received some pretty generous donations from Saudi Arabia. Clinton would certainly contend that the kingdom, which has made human rights violations a matter of public policy and financed the spread of fanatical Islam and the death that accompanies it throughout the world, is simply interested in the foundation's mission. Does that make any sense at all? She wants women and women's rights. She talks about it publicly, but accepts these billions of dollars or millions of dollars from Saudi Arabia, who does follow Islam's tenet that women's place is at second or third class citizens. It is also worth, the Clinton Foundation lists empowering women throughout the world as one of its primary objectives. But women's liberation hasn't exactly caught on in Saudi Arabia, has it? And it's doubtful that well-connected Saudis who donated tens of millions of dollars to the Clinton Foundation for advice on how to westernize the role of women in their society. They're not interested in that. It means nothing. So it's worth noting that the Saudis haven't been so generous with donations to other world organizations. Here's what we know all those millions of charity dollars paid for, especially while Clinton was at the State Department. We learned from her emails, John Podesta's emails, that was before the Russian hacking of the election allegations. It is reasonable to believe, based on information from unnamed sources, that Russia definitely hacked the U.S. election. It should be equally reasonable to question whether, based on her foundation past dealings and the access she already provided, that Clinton still had unsettled business with the House of Saud. Of course she does. She owes them millions of dollars, and Qatar as well. And that other little United Arab Republic mini state, which has so much more money than they can spend. It's especially true when it explains why blame Russia for hacking and affecting the bedrock of our democracy is still big news. The media has to keep it out there. You've probably noticed that the intensified focus on the situation in Syria, where there is some serious war and tail wagging going on, has been a nightmare for Obama, for our government, since U.S.-NATO alliance began quiet actions to destabilize that nation several years ago. Remember the cross the red line and you're in trouble. It didn't just get worse overnight. What did happen was that Trump got elected by the U.S. voters last month, frightened the hell out of factions who saw Clinton's election as a promise of continued destabilization and official U.S. coordination of Russian efforts to restore leader Bashar al-Assad. Trump's more diplomatic tone towards Russia and supposed rejection of the idea of the U.S. as international kingmaker threatens that entire plan. Follow the money. Follow the money. It is also significant that Russian forces have made major moves in the region in recent weeks. And then we read the little article that they abandoned Palmyra. That doesn't make sense. Saudi Arabia, not stability in the region or democratic governments, is the reason globalists can't abide the Russian state meddling in Syria. Well, that's Obama's fault. Nobody else's fault. It's Obama's fault. He gave it up. He relinquished it gladly. He led from behind, and he pushed the Russians into hegemony over everybody else in the Middle East. Clinton isn't the only one who has taken from the Saudi Arabians. American financiers, military contractors, and even our federal government itself all stand to lose massive amounts of money and international power if Saudi Arabia ever steps away from the petrodollar agreement with the United States. There's an opening for China. China's looking for an opening, and there it is. That's one that they will exploit. Bet on it, they will exploit it. The petrodollar system stipulates that Saudi oil sales to other countries are handled exclusively in U.S. fiat currency, paper dollars. Paper dollars. Once again, follow the money. Isn't this fun? Are we having fun? Are we learning anything? You can go to some of your sites and start following the money, and you'll find if you have that set in your mind, it's a little more interesting than in just reading what you don't understand. Currently, global trends and plummeting oil prices from last year threatened the House of Saud and its continued economic prosperity. You got to remember, they got several hundred princes and brothers and people in the royal family who need to be supported, and they're supported by petrodollars. They buy airplanes individually, they have fancy automobiles individually, they have wonderful, beautiful homes individually, and they all have to be supported. Unless the country is able to kill off as much competition as possible, the Saudis are likely to look for other trade options. Here again, Trump has upset the apple cart. He's saying he's going to restore America pumping, drilling on federal lands for oil, and oil shale fracking, and get America the top energy producer in the world. That would upset the Saudis. Now, the Saudis are not at all capable of launching a war against America, but they are capable and are launching a war against America through the surrogates, the ISIS, and the Islamic State. That's their weapon against us. That is their weapon against us. Russia quietly abandoned the petrodollar earlier this year. Did you know that? I'll bet you didn't know that. Syria did the same shortly before the unrest bubbled up in their country. In other words, as soon as Obama abandoned the red line, Syria made its move. Because Syria produces oil. Remember that? Syria produces oil. And a Syria-Russia alliance in the region is a nightmare for the Sunnis. So you see the problems that Obama caused because he's an incompetent, a community organizer, a soft-spoken gentleman who didn't know anything about foreign policy, about oil, economics, and he surrounded himself not with people who did, like Trump is doing, but with people who thought like him, in the vacuum of Marxist-Leninist ideology and dogma. It fails every time it's tried. Clinton's job as president would have been the same as was George Bush's, allowing the Saudis to get away with actual murder while applying massive pressure on any country that would dare undermine petrodollar-enabled hegemony. That's coming to an end. Saudi Arabia is going to have to figure out a new plan of attack. And also, I might say, Saudi Arabia is involved in its own shooting war in Yemen. And Yemen borders Saudi Arabia, so they don't need ships, but they can just fly to Yemen and bomb it and attack the Iranian-supported enemy there. But that's costly to do. It's costly to do. And it's not beyond Saudi Arabia either to make friends with Israel. They've done it before. They'll do it again. And the last time I heard, Israel does have an airfield deep in the desert of Saudi Arabia facing Iran. It's there. Iranians are not going to escape punishment if they continue with the nuclear program. They're not going to threaten Israel with nuclear annihilation freely. Israel's not going to stand for it. It's simply not going to happen. The Russian hacking farce is simply a convenient way for Clinton to attempt to further the agenda from outside the Oval Office. It's the only thing she's got. It's the only possible way she can start paying off her debt is to create problems for the Trump administration and hope that she can persuade the Trump administration to adhere to previously planned economic policy by the one world government crowd, the financiers and big business. The Russian hacking farce is working. So far, it's working because it's still in the news and we still talk about it. And no one has come out except Julian Assange and specifically said the Russians didn't do it. Obama said the Russians didn't do it, but he has such a history of lying, nobody believes him anymore. So anyway, Congress is already getting whipped into a Cold War-style bipartisan frenzy over the idea that Russia would dare hack our election. God, I wish we would contact your senators and your congressmen and tell them you don't believe it at all. It's a trick. It's all a fraud. Hillary's doing it. Let's get on with installing Trump's people and make America great again. John McCain, he and the rest of the defense-funded hawks are gleefully watching Democrats join their hardline stance against Russia as the artfully deployed hysteria takes hold. What's wrong with Arizonans that they got to continue to keep John McCain in office? Doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense. So try as he might, Trump probably, this is an important sentence, Trump probably will not be able to avoid the big war that Clinton and the people who backed her are counting on starting. She needs that war. The Democrats need that war. Only time will tell whether he'll be able to manage it or not. Trump will be scapegoat for what's likely to be the biggest military crap house in the U.S. history, and that's a war with Russia. We don't need it. We don't want it. The Russians are, well, they may not be our friend, but they're not our enemy. The Democrat Party and socialism, that political philosophy that gets us here, is our enemy. We have a few minutes left. If you want to comment on this with me, you can reach me at 706-889-9700. You can email me at george@fetchyournews.com. I'd love to hear from you. I like some repartee here. So what else is in the news? Well, the House Democrats, and they're in the minority, of course, say Trump will be in breach of contract over hotel. He owns a hotel. He owns a lot of hotels. He owns a lot of buildings. He owns a big business all over the world, and the Democrats are saying he will be in breach of the law over the contract of his hotel with the General Services Administration. Well, he can fix that. He can put his own guy in GSA, and that'll be that. Let him take the heat. Democrat lawmakers went to the GSA, sent a letter to the GSA complaining that Trump would be in violation of if he rents out houses or rooms in his Trump hotel in Washington, D.C. to foreign dignitaries. That's a storm in a teacup. Means nothing to me. The money he would make renting rooms to foreign dignitaries who want a nice room near the White House, near the Capitol, like Trump Hotel is. It's the old post office building. Would you believe that? The old post office. He's converted it, redone it, and now it's a beautiful, beautiful big hotel. He's not going to make billions off of that. That's just a minuscule part of his financial empire. I'm proud of Donald Trump. I'm proud that a man could take a pittance from his father, $1 million, and turn it into multi-billion dollars. You cannot fault things like that. That is a miracle. I hope he does it for America as well. I mentioned earlier also that Trump has announced that Michigan GOP Chairman Romney McDaniel is his choice to succeed Reince, how do you pronounce his name? Reince Priebus is chair of the Republican National Committee. McDaniel is the niece of Mitt Romney. She's a very capable woman, apparently. And it sounds incestuous, but Romney's not in there. So, You tell me it's time to quit? I've got to quit. I've run out of time. And Brian Pritchard wants to come back through that door and relay to you his latest news about Gilmore County's sports scene and the hiring of a new football coach. And so I will see you Monday morning. I'm not here on Fridays. Brian comes to us from the vault in Blue Ridge. And remember, it's going to be freezing cold, even colder than this morning. So you be careful out there. Watch your pets, break their water so they can drink, and we'll see you Monday.